maybe up to 100 years, but don't take that out of context. I said maybe up to 100 years, just like we have in Japan or Germany and Vietnam. We keep troops there just to keep it stable. A low amount of troops, but we've kept them there for many, many years. So that's my plan for Iraq. We need to get it done. We need to secure their government, and we need to help promote peace in the Middle East.
May I add on something to that? May I add something? Okay. But what exactly is there to be done? Because after we pulled out Saddam Hussein, it's not like anything's gotten better. It's actually gotten worse. There's still fighting going on. There's still wars going on. So I don't necessarily see what exactly is to actually be finished. Because if we keep them there, we're actually aggravating the Iraqi people. They don't like Americans. I'm sure you've probably seen on CNN and most of the TVs how they're usually either burning the American flag or burning something that's American related. They don't like Americans. So if we keep them there, we're just basically adding to the hostility.
Can we now go to a question from the audience? I know you wanted to separate it, but I think it would be more interesting if you go to them first.
Anybody have a question?
All right, Senator McCain, for over 1,000 years, genocides have been occurring over in Iraq and everything. Why is it in 2002 that we decided to go over there? Because our country has been established for like 200 years. Why did all of a sudden, oh, now we need to go over there? Why do we need to do that now?
Of course, originally, as you know, we went over for the suspicion and the intelligence that said weapons of mass destruction from Saddam Hussein. It was later found that that was not true, and that's proven. However, we did a job, we started something, and if they came over here and took out our leader, you know, take out the fact that most of you probably don't like him, but if they took out our leader and our government went into chaos and then just said, oh, we messed up, let's go home, don't you think we'd have even more anger towards them? We need to, now that we took down what government faction they had there and their leaders, we need to, you know, help them bring up a new government. The problem is that with what we have now, we have limited troops, so we can secure one area and make it peaceful. And as he said, what we see on the media is them burning flags and all of that, but that's not all Iraqis. You can talk to... Sorry. I forgot we're on a minute.
Can I say something? May I add something to that? But one thing that you're saying, how we should help them bring up a new government, they don't want American help. That's probably one of the biggest problems. They seriously dislike Americans. And I remember a couple years, actually before Bush got in office, they're saying, if Bush were to go into office, we're going to have more hatred towards you. Now when Bush got in office, that's when the 9/11 attacks came along. And then he said, okay, we're going to fight the war on terrorism. So in 2002, he sent the troops over there and decided to start a war in Iraq. Like the weapons of mass destruction, okay, it's just a cover-up because he just wants to bomb Iraq. He wants a reason to actually fight. But then when that turned out to be false, he tried to make up another excuse. Well, despite the fact he was saying Osama bin Laden, he tried to make up another excuse and go over to Saddam Hussein. But it still did not turn out for a victory. We're still over there, quote-unquote, fighting. But what are we fighting for?
That's the mission.
Well, I think you got a limit. Why don't you go to the next question? Yeah. Sorry, Senator McCain.
Okay. A lot of Americans are divided on the issue of illegal immigration and the granting of rights and privileges to the illegal immigrants. How would you deal with the millions of illegal immigrants already here and the ones crossing the border each day?
What I propose is more secure borders. We need to have our ports secured and our borders secure to prevent our enemies from getting into our country and prevent the threats that come into this country. But for the illegal immigrants that are already here, I support amnesty for them so they cannot be sent back, and a proposed path for them to become citizens, which will include learning English and helping them find employment. The problem I have is that corporations and companies, they exploit these illegal immigrants who come to the country for really cheap labor. But if we make them citizens and make them legal, they can't do that, and I propose higher penalties for corporations who do that and look for the cheap labor. So, like I said, the illegal immigrants in the country already, I propose amnesty so they can stay, but they need to become citizens and they need to become parts of our society.
To me? Well, what is one thing I believe in, that America is the land of opportunity. So like you were saying, I actually do plan to propose a path to help illegal immigrants attain their citizenship. But however, the reason why a lot of them usually run across the border and just try to get cheap jobs, because one, it's kind of hard for them to get citizenship, because some of the tests, they have to memorize some parts of the Declaration of Independence or some parts of the Constitution. Half of them can't speak English, but one thing that we have to do is like at least try to help them try to teach them English so they can at least somewhat be able to live in the country. But then again, not make the test so hard, because like many of those things that they're going to learn, many of those things that they have to memorize for those tests, they're not necessarily going to actually use it again. So if we're sitting there forcing them to do those tests, but natural-born citizens, when they're there, their test is like, where were you born? America. Okay, here's your citizenship. We can't necessarily do that. We have to make equal opportunities for everybody.
Any question from the audience? Go ahead.
With all this talk about recession these days, what would your plans be in candidates to enhance the economy? Either one of them.
I think Senator McCain can answer first.
Okay. I propose a tax cut for the middle class. It's the minimum finance tax. Sorry, the name escapes me. Something like that. It'll save the middle class $60 billion total a year, which is about $2,700 per family. And I also propose that we give corporations the tax-free benefits when they start inventing new things and coming up with new things for research, so that it will stimulate our economy and bring up new technologies and new things that will help our economy. But the tax cuts, I assume, or I propose, will help the middle class and increase their spending, which will stimulate our economy.
Could you repeat the question, please?
With all the talk of a recession, what are your plans to enhance the economy?
Well, for one, like the tax cuts. Since things aren't getting cheaper in the U.S., such as houses, because what I've been hearing is that there have been a lot of foreclosures recently, because a lot of people usually just buy the house but can't really afford it. So adding the tax cuts, it puts more income into the Americans' pockets. So, and along with that, boy. Continue.
Okay. On the subject of taxes, Senator Obama, this question will go to you. In 2001, President Bush and Congress passed temporary tax cuts that decreased the tax rates for all citizens, reduced the capital gains tax, and increased the child tax credit. They are now up for either revision, deletion, or to make permanent. And do you want to make these tax cuts permanent, or should they be thrown out?
The tax was permanent? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because for one, a lot of those tax cuts are usually like just bloated. He's just saying these things so the American people are like, oh, I support this, but not necessarily, because a lot of these things never actually really get passed. He says such and such, you get $2,000, but he would just cut it down and you wouldn't really notice. You'd be all into what the words that he says, but it's not necessarily true. But the tax cuts, I actually do support the tax cuts, because for one, a lot of people need more money inside of their pockets. So yeah, they need a greater income. So cutting the taxes, in turn, would probably actually help the environment. Well, help the economy. Sorry, help the economy.
Senator McCain, you have a question?
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. In 2001, President Bush and Congress passed temporary tax cuts that decreased the tax rates for all citizens, increased the capital gains tax, and reduced